Well, the time has come to talk about the celebration of everything geeky that is Ready Player One. So let's go to the Oasis. So Ready Player One takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where really the only things that have advanced in society is the technological things, particularly this one little thing called the Oasis. We'll get into that in a sec, but every other aspect in the world has really been drugged down. Agriculture is not great. Most everybody lives in these really hunky, terrible suburbs where everything has gone to crap, and that's where we get introduced to our main character of Wade Watts, and he explains to us what the Oasis is like. The Oasis is a place where you can become all you can be. Society is formed by the media and the culture that it has lived by, the movies, the television show, and the video games, and it was created by this one individual, Mr. James Halliday, and he created it to be a place where people can escape life and they can become the best versions of themselves that they can be. And with every good person who wants to use this system for its intended purpose to become the best version of yourself that you can be, like Mr. Wade Watts, there is also the corporate people who want to use it and control the people who are using it. And that's where Ben Mendelsohn's Mr. Nolan comes into play. And guys, Steven Spielberg has done it again. Honestly, Steven Spielberg has proven himself to be one of, if not the best directors working out there today. Steven Spielberg is my personal favorite director, and if there is one thing that Steven Spielberg has proven over the course of many years, especially with this film, is the fact that he can direct and create any genre of film you can imagine. I mean, with this film, you get action, you get horror, you get romance. I mean, this is fantastic considering we got The Post just a few months ago, and now we've got Ready Player One. And if you guys don't remember, Steven Spielberg is the same director who brought us Jurassic Park and Schindler's List in the same year. This guy has proven himself time and time again, and once again, Steven Spielberg has created a great adventure with a fantastic cast and a fantastic story that has a really great message interwoven with all the excitement and Easter eggs that are happening on screen. And when it comes to those Easter eggs, guys, let me tell you, the Easter eggs are one of the main selling points of this movie, and they're in there. And they're in there a lot. If you didn't already see from the trailer, the DeLorean's in here, the T-Rex from Jurassic Park's in here, King Kong's in here, and so many more that I don't want to get into, because this really is a movie made for geek culture, and no matter who you are, no matter what age you are, this is a film, this is a generational film, which Steven Spielberg does really well. This can connect with everybody, and it's a film that's going to connect with so many people across so many generations, and there is one particular Easter egg, one particular portion of this movie that is my absolute favorite, because if you guys know, I'm a giant horror fan, and the fact of the matter is, what Steven Spielberg decided to do with this section of the film, I had a big grin on my face from beginning to end, because it was such a cool twist on one of the greatest movies ever made, and he just did a phenomenal job with it. But before we continue, like I said, it's not just Steven Spielberg here. We gotta talk about the cast, we gotta talk about the score, and we gotta talk about the plot and the story. And the story is as good a place to start as any. The story in this is one of my all-time favorites, because it's a story that I think a lot of us can connect to. If you're ever somebody who's felt alone, who's felt like you won't succeed, or if you're somebody who's trying to find friends, you will connect with Ready Player One. I promise you. It's one of my favorite elements of this movie. Alright, now let's move on to the score. And if you guys didn't know, unlike many other of Steven Spielberg's other films, he did not get John Williams to score this particular film. He actually got this person who composed and scored the music for Back to the Future, and it's very evident. The score in this movie is fantastic. It's whimsical, it's also very beautiful, it can be very creepy, and the Back to the Future references are pretty woven throughout here, and it's pretty great to see, and the score matches that. And Back to the Future is just one of the all-time greatest films ever made. Seriously, guys, the references and the story and everything about this film is is so perfectly interwoven with each other that I think we have another Steven Spielberg masterpiece, and if not masterpiece, a really, really phenomenal film on our hands. But a great film is not a great film unless it's got a great cast, and this film does have a great cast. One thing, look, I'll get to Tye Sherriden in a second, but the person who surprised me the most in this film was Olivia Cooke, because the only other film that I had seen her in before this was that really terrible Ouija film from 2014, and let me tell you, she was horrible there, not so here. Olivia Cooke, as this character of Artemis, she provides so much levity, so much gravity. Her emotion is deep, and honestly, she got me to a point during the film where I felt for her situation, and honestly, I was looking at her, and she just brought me to tears in the best way possible, in the best Spielberg way possible. And her performance ties right into Tye Sherriden's. Tye Sherriden, just like with Olivia Cooke, he's one of the biggest and best up-and-comers that we've got going on right now. And these two together, powerhouse performances. But of course, since we follow Tye Sherriden's Wade Watts in this film, you gotta connect with the guy. And with how many references and with how much levity that Spielberg added into his backstory, I mean, this whole character where you surround the character of Wade Watts, he's just somebody you feel for, because he feels like you. He feels like an everyday character. He feels like an everyday person. He's just somebody who's had a lot of really, really terrible stuff happen to him. And some of that really terrible stuff involves Mr. Ben Mendelsohn, which may just be my favorite performance in the entire movie. Now, like I said, Tye Sherriden, Olivia Cooke, great. Ben Mendelsohn, from The Dark Knight Rises to Star Wars Rogue One to Ready Player One. This guy is so great at playing villains, particularly those business stuffed shirts, people that you hate, that think they're better than everybody else, that will literally demolish anybody that gets in their way so they can be the top at what they're doing. And honestly, this is one of my favorite performances that he has ever done. Ben Mendelsohn, he's menacing, great performances, great score, great story, great film all around. If I did have a problem with it though, it's really in the third act. The third act of Ready Player One I felt was some parts of it I thought were the slowest, but there's also a resolution with a certain character in the film that I thought was very, very poorly handled. Because I didn't think they wrapped up his story arc, and I didn't think they wrapped up his character to the best that they could have. Honestly, I think it got to the end, they're like, oh, we're wrapping up the film. We can forget one or two characters along the way. They don't really matter all that much, even though they've been impactful throughout the entirety of this. Really, that's the only problem I have with Ready Player One, guys. Honestly, across the board, I had a blast with Ready Player One. It blew away all my expectations for what it could be. It's a celebration in geek culture, the best way that a celebration in geek culture should be, and best of all, it is a book adaptation that makes me want to go back and read the book. Steven Spielberg has come again, and he has created a film that is my favorite from him since Catch Me If You Can. And I'll say that Ready Player One is suit worthy. But as always, guys, it is what you say that matters. So have you had a chance to see Ready Player One, and what did you think of it? More importantly, what is your favorite Spielberg film, and what is your favorite 80s reference that was made in Ready Player One? Be sure to try to be as spoiler-free as you can, but whatever it may be, leave it down in the comments section below so we can get a conversation started. And if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right there and subscribe and become part of the fray of nerds who love cinema. You all have a fantastic day.